All right, so let's talk about the exciter. Now, the exciter can be a dangerous tool. I feel like, 48% of us know that. But if you didn't know, the exciter could be a dangerous tool. The exciter can make or break a lot of things in your mix because it's really easy to overdo it. Yes, it's practically another saturation unit, but kind of not really. Depends. The way it works is that it's going to give you harmonics based on the content of your material, but it's going to add it underneath your sound until it becomes a dominant presence inside of your mix or band or whatever you want to call it. So when you're working with this exciter, know that you can add too many harmonics to your signal and things can start falling apart, or your pleasure of hearing these harmonics added to your mix will cause it to degrade because you're getting so hyped up by how it sounds. It's kind of like when people crank the bass inside of their car, not realizing they're just overdriving their speakers. It's the same thing with the exciter. So we have to be really careful. But if done correctly, oh my gosh, it can do a lot of things for you. Let me make my case. We started with this. Okay, there was a royal expansion of what we were getting in the midsection, the width of the track, ever since we did this mid side, and we didn't do much here. We got rid of this mid band, threw it in the side band, and added a little bit of these lows and cut down that snare hat, thing that I didn't like. Okay, the next thing on my list is I put an exciter on here. And the question is, why would I put an exciter on this track? If you give this track a listen, that width that we gave is now needing some reinforcement in the middle where the kick and the bass hit. Although I turned it up here, the problem is it's not as aggressive that I want it to be. The kick and the bass is cute, but it's not aggressive. This is that girth that I'm talking about, that manpower that we need behind this track. You see, I kind of need that kick and that bass resonating, but it's not. So let's go ahead and pull up the exciter. So, and what I'm looking for to split this track is I only want to catch the low end. That means I'm going to get all of the fundamental bass and I'm going to get at least the first or second octave of the kick. You'll see what I mean. If you see and observe this, the sub is all in here and the pitch of the sub is moving and being amplified the kick about this range. You got maybe a second or third harmonic in here, but I'm mainly concerned with the fundamental and a most dominant second harmonic on most of these notes. So this is the only range we're going to focus on. Now I'm going to go through each of the types of saturation or exciters and see which one I feel best suits the track. And I'm also going to throw this in mid-side. So I can already tell you that I like the tube mode. The dual triode is probably the runner up here. The reason why I'm liking the tube mode is because it's taking that woolly bass and is almost distorting it to put in more mid-range saturation effects inside of it. So instead of just kind of killing the bass, it's making it aggressive. It's like it's making it really, really rough. Like if there's like 1,000 pins on the table or something, you just move your hand across it. That's what it's sounding like. The retro just takes something woolly and distorts it woolly. So I want the opposite of what the retro and the tape was doing. And that's why I'm settling on the tube. Now the key is to not overdrive the tube. Right here is where you start hearing the bass become subbier. If it gets subbier, you have definitely added too much, in my opinion. So a neat trick to help you understand localizing your bass. Subbier frequencies are going to be lower to the bottom. Higher frequency is going to be above here. This is really helpful if you have it at tweeter height. Now, the problem comes when the EQ or whatever move you're affecting your harmonic distribution with is when you add too much low end, you'll start to kind of hear it pull down like this. And if it's too tinny or high frequencies, it'll start to pull up like this. More than likely could be due to the fact that the tweeters are high, woofers are low. I'm not really sure. And so the more I add in this low end, I can tell if I'm adding in too much because that wooliness will start to make it come down like this and over through this overarching kind of a foldback sound. And what I want is for that sound to kind of hit right here in the middle. That's that tight feeling that I get. I'll explain the sensation in another video, but this is how I'm hearing this track and knowing where to put this bass. Also, I don't want to hear the bass over resonate. If it over resonates, then it's too much. Now that I've dialed in the amount, I'm going to pull back the mix and only put in enough to make a difference. So we won't get too tedious with it. I'm going to leave it right there. And we're going to do some A-Bing and hearing how all this stuff adds up. So that's the exciter. And from what I'm hearing, I don't think I need to add any more type of aggression or anything to any of the sounds inside of here. Everything seems to be working fine. Notice I only had one goal, one mission for this exciter, and I used that process to accomplish that one sole decision. Think about mastering like tools. You're using tools just to accomplish what you need to accomplish. Don't worry about trying to craft a sound, a idea, to make a decision. No, just listen to it and learn what sounds good in the industry. Go listen to some references, and then when you listen to your mix, if something says the kick is not there, or I need more bite on the top end, then just go in, get tools, and hone in those areas. Don't be too scared of mid-side. If you know the kick is what's the problem inside of the mix, then concentrate on the mid spectrum or the mid bands inside of your frequency spectrum and only process the mids. Leave the sides alone, but just be very minimal. Once you achieve what you're doing, stop. Don't do anything else. Just go in and achieve what needs to be done based on the reference that you are listening to. Get prepared for the next part of this series. It will be on the multi-band dynamics. Yes, multi-band compression. I'll leave it at that. Deuce.